Leslie, I'm having you back for a second conversation. I sent you a screenshot of a message that I got from somebody that said, "Hey, I watched the episode where Leslie was on. You guys were talking about being unapologetically yourself." And that really hit home for me. And I had somebody else message me like a couple days after that saying, "Hey, I watched that, and the branding and the messaging that I was told that I need to put out to attract clients never felt right to me."
Yeah.
And hearing you guys discuss that, I actually started just what I felt in my heart, what I felt good and comfortable doing. And I posted stuff 3 days in a row. I had 3 people reach out. One person actually signed up. And that's not a coincidence, right? That someone reached out. So let's have a conversation about being unapologetically yourself.
I will start by saying being unapologetic, your level, your ability to be unapologetically authentic is directly tied to your conversion. And I'll give you a direct number because I just checked this number this morning. I couldn't believe it.
Beautiful. I love data.
So we both shared, we were in the same mastermind from years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we both wanted to understand how to grow our business from a marketing perspective because we were really good coaches, but we didn't understand the marketing front that much. So I remember one of the techniques that was taught in the marketing class was called PSA. Still remember what it is? What this three letters stand for?
Yep.
So you talk about the problem, you agitate the problem, and yes, PAS, not PSA.
Yep.
PAS, exactly.
Yep.
PAS. So that was pretty much the format. And we were taught to use this format on every single one of the email newsletters we sent out. So that the idea is if you talk about the problem and then you agitate the problem emotionally so that you have the emotional response from people. And then you talk about, yeah, I have a solution. There's a call to action that people will come to, book a call with you. That sounds very logical to me. And I'm a logical person. So I really like that. But the problem was that when I was implementing that kind of strategy into my day-to-day email newsletter, I used to email my list about at least twice a week so that I kept my list warm. So the problem that I was facing was that I was quickly running out of ideas because a big part of that was because I had to conform my messaging within this framework of PSA, PAS, right? So quickly, I was thinking about how can I diversify my messaging about the problems and how can I agitate the problems in different ways that people will not feel like this is the same old message, right? So I was very burnt out just by thinking about how to conform to the structure. It's not a bad thing. Some people are good with it. Some people are not as good. So some people like me might struggle a little bit. So I lost passion towards writing emails. Okay, I used to love it. Like I did it twice a week, but when I had to conform to a different structure that I'm not feeling very much congruent about for various reasons, I lost the passion of emailing my list. So I let it be not abandoned, but neglected for a long time.
Can we stop there for a second?
Sure.
Why did you lose passion to emailing the people?
Because I felt like I'm not free to speak up what I wanted to speak up.
Yeah.
And there was
And that's why I brought it up, because the PAS, right? Like it's a framework that's very successful, right? Otherwise people wouldn't use it. There's a lot of frameworks you can talk.
Yes.
Now you have to understand that when you're putting out any sort of material for branding, any emails going out, social media posts, your videos, whether it's your funnel, whatever it may be, you can be talking to people multiple different ways, right?
Yeah.
Like right there, that's a very low emotional state, right? And then there's also the high emotional state. Now the low emotional state too, you can fall into the trap where you're just speaking to scarcity.
Yeah.
And such a level of fear. So now everything that you put out now is in this so low grade emotion. It's negative. It almost brings you down as well.
I wanted to, I'm glad that you pointed that out, because I'm not used to thinking in the low emotional vibrational level.
Yep.
So the more I have to write about people's pain, the more I felt the pain.
Correct.
That's not how I function. It's not how majority of my clients function. But basically, I have to think about how am I going to frame my messaging that is not directly like that I can't be directly connected to.
Yeah.
But that's also, purely for marketing purpose. So basically, I lost my passion and interest in writing emails, and I could see that because in back end of the email newsletter system, you can see what is the conversion rate, what is the click-through rate, how many people were opening the emails, right? So I could see the conversion numbers synced up with my lack of motivation.
Yep.
I used to have 20% of conversion rate in terms of email open rate, and also my click-through rate. It can be very well at 1%. And I'm talking about the click-through rate for people to book a call. And by now I have a list of 8,000 people. So that will easily translate into 800, right?
Yep.
I mean, 80 people. And 80 people clicking on that, and they're not necessarily everyone will book a call, but if like 10% of them, then you get 10 calls, 8 to 10 calls booked.
Yep.
Which is pretty good for the week. But the problem is that because I was not seeing the motivation, so I didn't know how I could orchestrate the emailing thing, because you have to do it consistently.
Yep.
A lot of mental burden. So starting from 8 months ago, I revamped my entire email sequence. And that has a lot to do with my realization that I should just be the unique Leslie Chen. And at that time, I realized, because I signed up for different email lists as well.
Yep.
And I realized the more I was looking around and reading those emails, the more I realized that they all came from the same format. Like even the tones.
Yep.
Right? Even the way that you structure your sentences.
Yep.
They become more and more similar. So this is a time when I realized, I don't think adding one more person following the same formula is going to do any difference to the market. So I said that's enough for me.
Well, and I think that's a really key point that I want people to understand. And you said, hey, everything I started reading, it was all sounding the same, right? And whether you were, I'm assuming that you're like me, that you have multiple newsletters. So one might be business, one might be mindset, one might be health, one might be personal development, one might be marketing, one might be copywriting, one might just be a general interest, whatever. But again, if they're all sounding the same, we're all drowning in the same. Now, if we're honest with ourselves, the people that are on your newsletter, they're there for reasons of health, right? So if they're on your newsletter for health, they probably are on other people's for health as well. Right. And so if they get 3 emails today, one from you, one from 2 other people, and they're all sounding the same, how do you differentiate yourself?
The problem is that I couldn't even stand it when I was looking at different emails in my inbox. That these are from business coaches, these are from wellness coaches, and I was pretty much reading the similar tone.
Yep.
Right, not written by the same person, but similar tone. And it looks like it makes me feel like even the programs probably similar programs,
Yep.
So that's the time when I realized I'm going to revamp my entire email list. And I didn't do it on the same day. I actually took steps. So remember that I was emailing my clients, my newsletter once or twice a week. So I just sent out emails, starting writing emails by asking myself, what is the intention for this email? What is the real intention for this email? What is one single top line message I want to send? I want to just articulate that message in the best way that I can, which really shows people what exactly is a gap. Maybe it's a piece of message that they never heard before, which is very normal for my business, because I always say something in my program which is very different from what other people say. So I just used those messages. I made a list of the key messages, and I started writing emails just around those. And my emails are short now. One of the drawbacks with following a particular structure is that your email is long. because you want to make sure there's an element for P, there's an element for A, there's an element for S. Maybe I was just not doing it efficiently.
Yep.
That was what I had experienced. But since I straightened up my mind with a very simple intention behind, which is just to share one message, which show people what is the real distinction, real gap they're facing, my emails become shorter, much shorter. I would say like 400 to 500 words max. And they actually produce much, much better results. And nowadays, my email open rate, I just share with you that I checked those numbers this morning. An average like 35%, some of them like 50%. And click-through rate. So not everyone will lead to a call to action. This is another change because
I was going to get into that. Yes, too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because in the past, every email will lead to, hey, book a call with me. But nowadays, I'm like, hey, this is what I just wrote. This is what I just shared. This is what I just shot in a video on TikTok. Yeah. And the click-through rate has doubled, even from before. Like it used to be 1%, now it's like 2%, 2.5%. Yep. So that's like you engage with the audience by thinking what they really need.
Yep. Well, and you bring up an interesting point that I'm glad you already brought it up. It's a really good, powerful point a lot of people need to realize. Whether you have your email sequence going out, whether you're posting on social media, whatever it may be, but that is one of the problems. If you're doing a certain framework for every single email, that is, if we use fitness as an example, hey, your health sucks, you're ready to die. You're going to die in 6 months or less. You don't fix a problem now. I have the solution, book a call with me. And that's every email that they get from you.
Yeah.
Just worded differently. How effective is that going to be long-term? It's not. And so having also a process with your emails, I know some very successful individuals out there, they send out an email every single day, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Right? Each one is covering something specific. Friday is the call to action.
There's a structure for that.
Yes. And it's, if you use like the term hero's journey, right? The hero's journey psychologically is embedded in our DNA. And it's the reason why you have pretty much every single movie blockbuster follows that process and that framework of the hero's journey. If each email is going out and it's kind of like a hero's journey process, right? You're all week long. If you're getting that high of engagement, that means they're reading regularly. Then by the end of the week, when the week is wrapping up, they're like, oh my gosh. And then the call to action's there. Then they're booking a call for you on Monday or Tuesday. And you're already setting your week up with success for yourself and for them. And so that process too. And if you're following just one framework, and that framework is always just, really just digging in that wound of theirs, you're going to turn people off pretty quick. And they're like, oh, this person's just yelling at me again and telling me I need to buy their program. Like, how quickly is that going to really be longevity? There isn't a very process.
Absolutely golden points, because you have to think about the emotional journey that the people are having. And also there are two things I'd like to share here. One is that the structure you talked about, I think it's good to have a structure. I have a structure too, which is slightly different from yours. I don't give myself this instruction that Friday emails will be for that, book a call with me.
And I don't use that either. I just know some very successful people out there do that, right?
It's a good way. It's a good way.
Yep.
The way I do it, which I find pretty successful in terms of encouraging the people who are ready to book a call with me, is I no longer insert that language intentionally or deliberately in my emails. Okay. But if there is a link, maybe it's something that I wrote or a TikTok video that I just shot, and that's shared in that email. So if they're interested enough to click into that link, which means that they're emotionally ready to receive more, right?
Yep.
So usually at the end of that piece of information I shared, which is linked, there's an opportunity for them. Basically, I say, whenever you're ready, you can book a call.
Correct.
But there's nothing that I'm forcing you to do it. You don't need to see that message if you're not emotionally ready. That's
Yeah.
when you're not clicking on those links. But for people who are ready, they probably want that. So I share that information there. Now, the other thing I wanted to share is, to be honest, you need to understand what you want. You need to have absolute clarity of what you want. When we went into the mastermind, right, I think the premise of that program, that mastermind, is how to become the best-selling coach. Okay, and to be honest, it took me some time to realize that whether you can be the best-selling coach in your niche is actually very much out of your control.
Correct.
It's actually depending on so many moving parts, right? And if you are focusing your intention just on that, you run the risk of sabotaging your inner drive, and just because so much pressure there about things you cannot control. So I, for a long time, have realized that that should not be my intention. But my intention should be to build an iconic brand. Now, we talked about branding last time, right? So that's where things get, click. My intention is I want to build an iconic brand that lasts long enough to serve people. So if that's the case, then the emails, think about what kind of purposes they should serve. It's not just about having people book calls so you can profit from, the email list.
Yeah.
Then the intention got, for the email list, got realigned into the very high level goal of building a brand through building relationships, through having authentic conversations.
Yep.
So if you cannot be authentic, unapologetically about who you are, what your key messages are, it will be very difficult for you to do that. That's why I said that in this new framework of thinking, that ability to be unapologetically authentic ties directly to the conversion. It might not be the conversion for sales, but you definitely get heard and engaging with your audience and build the trust. And that's when people come to you.
Right. Well, and that's when people start lining up at the door. And that's when you look at putting out emails as well, like you said, not every single one has a call to action. I think that's a really important part. And very often, and there's multiple masterminds that I've been in that all have the philosophy that you don't get they all push you away from actually giving out value.
Sorry, repeat that.
They pushed away you giving out value. And like, as an example, like if we're talking about your fitness offer, or let's say I still have my rheumatoid heal rheumatoid arthritis naturally offer going, having an email going out that's giving real tangible education, actionable steps, things they can do to start improving, that builds so much credibility.
Yeah.
Builds so much more ability to convert future emails, because now they're going, oh my gosh, this person's actually helping me. I want to check their next email, right? Rather than always attacking with, you're in pain, you suck, I'm the only solution for you. Here, go out and do this. You should see this result. They go try it, see that result. Guess what? They're waiting for your next email. They're waiting for more. And you and I both know that the clients are going to hire us. They're going to hire us for a couple of different reasons. Number one, they've been at this for a while and trying to solve it themselves. They've been online. They've been reading books. They've hired people. And nothing's worked. And what they want is they want someone to come in that's going to customize, it's going to fix their problem and speed that up and fix it once and for all. So if I'm giving them tools to start using and they're getting results, that trust, that validation, that certainty of who I am, how I'm going to help them is being solidified. So now it's actually when they book a call with you, they're going to show up and they're not going to be like, well, I don't know, your program sounds good, but I'm just not really sure. It helps a limit because you're giving them certainty by already giving them results before they even show up. And that's a tremendous piece of the value. And it's actually how you keep people on your list, how you grow it, and you become an iconic brand. I
absolutely agree with you in terms of giving value. I think the idea that you should not give value in the email list, right? In the emails, It's actually founded on the premises that the only kind of relationship you can build with people is that them buying your product. Hello, still hear me? Scott? Mhm. 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 Mhm.